The government calls Scott Cudi.
Welcome. Just come right up here.
Can I ask you to please give the court your first and last name and spell your first and last name?
Scott Cudi. Scottmescudi.
Miss Johnson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Cudi.
Hi,
What do you do for work?
I'm an actor and musician.
Are you known by any other names?
Kid Cudi.
Miss Foster, could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A401? Mr. Cudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A401?
Yes.
Who is that?
Cassie Ventura.
Do you know Miss Ventura?
Yes.
How do you know Miss Ventura?
We were friends and we dated briefly.
How did you first meet Miss Ventura?
Just at an event in New York years ago, around like 2008.
Did you ever collaborate professionally with Miss Ventura?
Yeah, we worked on some music together.
You also mentioned you dated briefly. Approximately when did you date Miss Ventura?
2011.
You can take that down now, Miss Foster. Mr. Cudi, who else, if you know, was Miss Ventura involved romantically with around the same time you were dating her in 2011?
Sean Combs.
Could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A101? Mr. Cudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A101?
Yes.
Who's that?
Sean Combs.
Is that the same Sean Combs who was romantically involved with Miss Ventura?
Yes.
You can take that down now. Mr. Cudi, when you were first dating Miss Ventura, what, if anything, did you know about the status of her relationship with Mr. Combs?
When we first started dating, you mean?
Yes, when you first started dating.
That she and Sean Combs had some problems and they weren't dating anymore.
Did your understanding of the nature of their relationship ever change?
Did the what now?
Did your understanding of the status of their relationship ever change?
After she told me?
Yes.
No, not that I knew of.
Miss Foster, can you also please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A406? Do you recognize Mr. Cudi, who is depicted in this exhibit?
Yes.
Who is this?
Capricorn.
How do you know Capricorn?
She was a friend of Cassie's.
I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. Did there come a time when law enforcement responded to your home in December of 2011?
Yes.
Why did law enforcement respond in December 2011?
Because I had a break-in.
I'd like to start at the beginning of the day of the break-in. How did that day start?
Well, I got a call from Cassie around 5:30, 6 a.m., and she told me that Sean Combs had found out about us. I was really confused, but she asked me to pick her up. She sounded really stressed on the phone, nervous, scared, so I went to go pick her up, and yeah.
A few follow-up questions for you. When Miss Ventura said that Mr. Combs had found out about us, as you said, what was your understanding of what Miss Ventura was saying?
Objection. Overruled.
You can answer.
Repeat the question?
Sure. You testified that Miss Ventura told you Mr. Combs found out about us. What was your understanding of what Mr. Combs had found out?
That me and her were dating.
And you also testified that you were confused when you heard that?
Yes.
Why were you confused?
Because I didn't think she was still dealing with him.
And you mentioned that you went to pick her up, is that right?
Yes.
Why did you pick her up?
She wanted me to come pick her up. And she was also worried that he would come to my house because he asked for my address and she gave it to him.
When you picked her up, could you please describe for the jury Miss Ventura's demeanor?
Very stressed, nervous, just scared. Didn't know what Sean Combs would do.
Prior to the phone call you received that you just testified about, had you and Miss Ventura previously discussed the nature of her relationship with Mr. Combs?
Yeah, about like if they were still hanging out or if she had seen him or just meeting in general.
Let me be a little more specific. What, if anything, had Miss Ventura previously told you about Mr. Combs being physical with her?
That he was abusive.
Same objection, Your Honor.
It's sustained.
Mr. Cudi, after you picked up Miss Ventura, where did you go?
I took her to the Sunset Marquis.
What's the Sunset Marquis?
It's a hotel in Los Angeles.
Why did you go to the Sunset Marquis after you picked up Miss Ventura?
I used to frequent the Sunset Marquis and I just thought it was safe and just wanted to put her somewhere where she was off the radar.
When you say safe, what do you mean by that?
Just safe, away from him.
When you and Miss Ventura were at the Sunset Marquis, Who else, if anyone, did you speak to while you were at the hotel?
Capricorn.
So before we talk about the substance of that communication, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Had you spoken to Capricorn before this morning?
Yes.
How often had you spoken to Capricorn on previous occasions?
Quite often. She hung out with me and Cassie a lot.
On the morning when you were at the Sunset Marquee, how did you speak to Capricorn?
On speakerphone.
Who else was present, if anyone?
Cassie.
And can you describe how Capricorn's voice sounded on the phone call that you and Miss Ventura had with her at the Sunset Marquee?
She was very scared. Sounded like she was on the verge of tears.
What, if anything, did Capricorn say to you and Miss Ventura on that phone call about what was happening at the moment for her?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's overruled.
You can answer.
That Sean Combs and an affiliate were in my house and she was in a car. She was forced to go along with them over there.
And what, if anything, did Ms. Capricorn say about where she was at that moment?
She was in a car outside my house waiting for them.
And what, if anything, did Capricorn say about where Mr. Combs was at the moment?
Asked and answered. Sorry, objection.
Overruled.
In my house.
After you spoke to Capricorn, what did you do next?
I got in my car and went to my house.
Did anyone go with you when you went to your house after that phone call?
No.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up for identification for the court, the witness, and the parties only, Government Exhibit 8C102? Mr. Mezcudi, do you recognize what's depicted in this exhibit?
Yes.
What is it?
It's the front door of my old house.
And is this the house you drove to after receiving the phone call from Ms. Clark?
Yes.
The government offers Government Exhibit 8C102.
No opposition.
8C102 will be admitted.
Will you please publish to the jury, Ms. Foster? Mr. Mezcudi, what was the address where you were living at the time?
8925 Hollywood Hills Road.
And you mentioned that this was just so I'm clear, you mentioned that this store we see in a photograph, is this the front gate door or is this the door to the residence?
This is the front gate door.
Is there an additional door to the residence?
Yes.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. How would you describe the neighborhood that 8925 Hollywood Hills Road is located in?
Quiet. Family-oriented.
And approximately how long was the drive from the Sunset Marquee Hotel to your home at 8925 Hollywood Hills Road?
Maybe like 12, 15 minutes.
And in December 2011, what kind of car did you drive?
A Porsche 911 Cabriolet.
Was that the car you were driving that evening?
Yes.
While you were on that drive from the hotel to your home, what, if anything, did you do?
I called Sean Combs.
How did you have Sean Combs' phone number?
I just had it from years ago.
Did Mr. Combs pick up your call?
Yes.
Can you describe the conversation that you had with Mr. Combs on the drive to your home?
Yeah. I'm going to be very candid. I said, "You in my house?" And he was like, "What's up?" I was like, "Are you in my house?" And he said, "I just want to talk to you." I was like, "I'm on my way over there right now." He was like, "I'm here."
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last bit. After you said, "I want to talk to you," what did Mr. Combs respond with?
No, he said he wants to talk to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I said, "I'm on my way over to my house right now." And he's like, "I'm over here waiting for you."
When Mr. Combs said, "I'm over here waiting for you," what was your understanding of where Mr. Combs was located?
At my house.
What was Mr. Combs' tone of voice during that phone call?
Calm.
When you arrived at your house, focusing first on the outside of your house, what did the outside look like?
Pretty normal.
Were there any security cameras at your residence at that time?
Yes.
Were those security cameras working that evening?
They weren't. I thought they were working, but they weren't.
You find out later that they weren't working?
Yeah.
Where were the security cameras positioned on the exterior of your house?
To the side, like somebody moved it out the way.
When you say someone moved it out of the way, can you explain what you mean by that?
Like the camera was angled down at the door originally, and it was moved to an opposite angle.
And when did you discover the camera had been moved to a different angle?
Once I got to the house.
And was the camera at a different angle earlier, before the break-in?
Yes.
Had you moved the security cameras at all?
No.
I want to focus now on the inside of your home. When you went inside, was anyone inside your home?
No.
What did you see inside your home?
Some gifts that I bought for my family were open. Some stuff I got from Chanel, and then my dog was locked up in my bathroom.
So taking those one at a time, where were the gifts that were opened?
On the kitchen counter.
What type of gifts were those?
I can't remember exactly what specifically, but it was stuff from Chanel.
And you mentioned that your dog was locked up in the bathroom, is that right?
Yes.
How did you typically allow your dog to stay in your home when you weren't present?
I just let him roam.
Had you shut the door to the bathroom before you left?
No.
Before the break-in, how long had you had your dog?
I think by this time, maybe 3 years.
And I want to focus on the immediate aftermath of the break-in, right after. What, if any, changes in behavior did you notice in your dog after the break-in?
Very jittery and kind of on edge all the time.
I want to focus on what you did next. After you got to your home, what did you do after that?
I got in the car, and that's when I called Sean Combs.
So you got back to your car after you went to your home?
Yeah.
Were you still alone in your car?
Yeah.
And you mentioned you called Mr. Combs again?
Yeah.
Why did you call Mr. Combs again?
Because I was looking for him.
Why were you looking for him?
Because I wanted to confront him. I wanted to fight him, you know?
Did you call Mr. Combs?
Yeah.
Did he answer?
Yes.
Can you describe that conversation for the jury?
I can't remember my exact words, but I was kind of like asking him where he was. And he was like, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So at that point, I hung up and I thought to myself, I was like, okay, you're angry.
Objection.
Grounds.
Non-responsive.
That's overruled.
Okay, you're angry. Just think about this, you know, like, and I just thought, like, I don't know who he has with him. I don't know what his intentions are.
Objection.
Why don't we get a fresh question?
That's fine. Mr. Mezcudi, what did you do after that phone call with Sean Combs?
I thought about, you know, the reality of the situation, not knowing what I was walking myself into, so I decided to call the police.
Can you describe Mr. Combs' tone of voice when you spoke to him on the phone while you were in your car?
Calm.
Where did you go after you called the police?
I went back to my house.
When you returned home, was anyone there?
Yes.
Who was there?
The police.
Did you speak to the police?
Yes.
Did you make a report about the break-in?
Yes.
Did you see Miss Ventura later that day?
Yes.
What was her demeanor like when you saw her later?
Stressed.
You mentioned this was in December 2011, is that right?
Yes.
Where did you spend the Christmas holiday in December 2011?
With Cassie's family in Connecticut.
Where did you stay in Connecticut when you were there for the holidays?
At her family's house.
Can you generally describe Miss Ventura's demeanor when you were in Connecticut for the holidays with her family?
I think being around her family really did a lot for her at that time. She really needed it.
While you were away in Connecticut, did you have any additional communications with Mr. Combs?
Yes, he had hit me a couple of times.
When you say he hate you, what do you mean by that?
He texted me.
Did he text you? You said a couple of times. How frequently did Mr. Combs text you?
It wasn't every day. It kind of stopped at some point when I responded to him and told him I didn't want to talk. His text messages were always along the lines of him wanting to speak. Just get to the bottom of it.
When you say you got to the bottom of it, what are you talking about?
Just figure out what's going on, I guess. He was in the dark about things and wanted to talk. But at that point, you know, post break-in, I didn't want to talk to him.
Did you respond to Mr. Combs' texts?
Yeah, I told him, you know, specifically told him, you broke into my house. You messed with my dog. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
When did you leave Connecticut?
A little bit before New Year's.
By January of 2012, after New Year's, what was the status of your relationship with Ms. Ventura?
We weren't really hanging out,
Why was that?
I guess.
Objection.
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure. You said you weren't really hanging out with Ms. Ventura?
No.
Did the relationship end?
Yeah.
Directing your attention to January of 2012, did there come a time when you learned your car had caught fire?
Yes.
How did you learn that your car had caught fire?
My dog's babysitter called me in the morning.
Approximately what time did you receive that phone call?
6:30, 7 a.m.
What was your understanding of where your dog's babysitter was located when she called you?
at my house.
Was it your understanding that your dog's babysitter was telling you what was happening in real time?
Yes.
And what did your dog's babysitter say to you about what she saw?
She told me my car was on fire.
Was anyone else present at your house at the time?
No.
Where were you?
I was at my ex-girlfriend's sister's house.
Approximately how far away from your house were you?
Like 45 minutes or something like that.
Where was your car at the time your babysitter called?
In the driveway.
Was it in the driveway of the same home at 8925 Hollywood Hills Road?
Yes.
After you received this phone call from your dog's babysitter, what did you do?
I immediately went to my house.
Miss Foster, can we please pull up for identification for the court, the witness, and the parties, Government Exhibits 3F101 and 3F102? I'm going to show you 6 total pictures, Mr. Mascati.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize what's depicted in those pictures?
Yeah.
What is it?
My Porsche.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up government exhibits 3F103 and 3F104? Do you recognize what's depicted in these photos, Mr. Mescudi?
Yes.
What is it?
The damage from a Molotov cocktail in my Porsche.
Is that your car?
Huh?
This is your car.
Yes.
Ms. Foster, can you now please pull up for identification government exhibits 3F105 and 3F108? Mr. Mescudi, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
Yes.
Is that your car?
Yes.
The government offers government exhibits 3F101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 108.
No opposition, Your Honor.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
Can you publish those exhibits to the jury? Mr. Mescudi, when did you receive these photos?
While I was on my way to my house.
Who sent these photos to you?
My friend Chip.
Who's Chip?
He's a good friend and collaborator.
Why did Chip send you photographs of your car?
He was closer to my house and I wanted to see the damage that had been done.
Did you ask Chip to go take photos for you?
Yes.
So I want to focus on these two photographs. First, on the one on the left. Can you describe what's depicted in the photograph on the left?
It looks like the top of my Porsche was cut open and that's where they inserted the Molotov cocktail.
And the photograph on the right. From what angle is that photograph taken?
It looks like that's from the passenger side looking up the roof.
On the right-hand side of the photograph, what is the hole? Is that the same hole in the roof you can see on the photograph on the left, 3F101?
Yes.
Can you take these down, Ms. Foster, and pull up 3F103 and 3F105 side by side? Mr. Mescudi, starting with the one on the left, can you please describe what we are seeing in Government Exhibit 3F103?
That's the door to the driver's side, smoke damage.
Then what is depicted in the photograph on the right?
That's the hole in my roof.
Can you take those down, Ms. Foster, and pull up Government Exhibit 3F104 and 3F108? What's depicted in these two images?
The damage to the driver's side.
You mentioned a Molotov cocktail earlier.
Yeah.
What's a Molotov cocktail, to your understanding?
It's, would you say, explosive or something like that? I guess it's a bottle with some type of like inflammatory liquid inside and a cloth that you light on fire and it ignites.
Did you eventually get to your home on the day of the car fire?
Yeah.
What did you see when you arrived home?
Just the damage. I saw the Molotov cocktail, yeah.
Are these photographs that we just looked at similar to what you saw when you arrived home?
Yeah.
When you say, I saw the Molotov cocktail, what did you see?
The bottle, and it was kind of just burnt up.
Was any law enforcement present when you arrived here to your home?
Yes.
Did you speak to law enforcement that day?
Yes.
Did you make a report?
Yes.
With respect to your car, was your car able to be repaired after the fire?
No.
And when you said you saw the bottle for the Molotov cocktail when you returned home, where was that bottle?
On the ground.
Was it on the ground inside or outside of your vehicle?
Outside of the vehicle.
Was it near the vehicle?
Huh?
Where was it in relation to the vehicle?
It was near the vehicle.
What was your understanding of where the Molotov cocktail was found by law enforcement?
In the driver's seat.
I think you mentioned this, but was your car able to be repaired?
No.
What was your reaction to your car being set on fire?
What the
Objection.
That's overruled. Ms. Johnson, we're going to take a 5-minute break whenever you're ready in the next couple of minutes. When you find a good landing place.
I'm about to move on to a different topic, so I think this may be a good landing place.
Very good. Members of the jury, we are going to take a short recess and we will be back in 10 minutes, so around 11:22 or thereabouts. All rise. Ms. Johnson, you may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mescudi, before we took the break, we were talking about the day your car was set on fire. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Just 2 additional questions about that day. Ms. Foster, could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 3F105? Mr. Mescudi, was the damage depicted in Government Exhibit 3F105 present on your vehicle before you got the call from the dog sitter you described earlier?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'll strike the question. The last time you saw your car prior to the phone call you got from the dog sitter, did your car look like this?
No.
What was your understanding of whether this was accidental or intentional?
It was intentional.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up Government Exhibit 3F103? Mr. Mescudi, did the door of your car look like this before you got the call from your dog sitter that there was a fire in your car?
No.
Was it your understanding that this damage was accidental or intentional?
Intentional.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. When was the last time you saw Ms. Ventura?
2012.
Where did you see her?
At the Soho house.
When did you see Ms. Ventura at the Soho house relative to the day your car was on fire?
Couple of days later.
Why were you at the Soho house?
I reached out to Sean Combs after my car had caught fire and, finally told him that we needed to meet up to talk. He had been wanting to talk to me, so after the fire I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to him.
Why was it Mr. Combs you reached out to after the fire?
Because I knew he had something to do with it.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
Is there an objection?
Objection.
Objection is sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Ms. Johnson, you may ask your next question.
Mr. Mezcudi, who, if anyone, helped arrange the meeting at the Soho house?
This man named D-Rock and my manager, Dennis Cummings.
Who is D-Rock, if you know?
I don't know exactly what he does for Mr. Combs, but I guess he was like security or somebody.
Do you have an understanding that he worked for Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Where at Soho house was the meeting held?
It was held. The rooms are not there anymore, but they used to have like meeting rooms on the first floor.
In which city was the meeting held?
Hollywood.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Can you describe what happened when you arrived at the Soho house?
Yeah, I walked in and I met D-Rock. He was escorting me into the room, and then I got to the room. It was one wall, was all window, and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Yeah, it was just me and him in the room, no security, nobody.
Was Miss Ventura present when you initially arrived at the meeting?
No.
What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho house?
We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started to date, to what it was, to how it ended. And his whole point was, we were homies, that was my girl. I let him know that, she told me they were broken up, and I took her word for it. Yeah.
What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during this meeting?
Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice.
What was your reaction to his demeanor?
It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm.
You mentioned that Miss Ventura wasn't present when you first arrived.
No.
Did that change?
Yes, she eventually came.
And how did you react when Miss Ventura arrived?
I was upset to find out that she had kind of went back to him.
What did Miss Ventura do when she arrived?
She pretty much kind of explained that we fell in love and things just happened and.
I believe you testified to this earlier, but how soon was the meeting at the Soho house in relation to the day your car was on fire?
I think it was like the next day.
At the same time, did you have conflicts with anyone else?
No.
Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at the Soho house?
Yeah, we stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are we going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away, and I could look him square in his eyes. And he looked right back at me, very cold stare, and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "Okay." I took my hand from his, and he said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, "You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word." He said, "Yeah." I was like, "That's it."
When Mr. Combs looked at you and said, "I don't know what you were talking about," when you asked about your car, what was his tone of voice?
Very calm.
After this meeting, were there any other break-ins at your home?
No.
And after this meeting, was your car ever set on fire again?
No.
Have you seen Mr. Combs since that Soho house meeting?
Yes.
Approximately when did you see Mr. Combs?
A couple of years later at the Soho house again.
Can you describe what happened when you saw him at the Soho house a few years later?
Yeah, he was with his daughter and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that."
Between the break-in and the car fire and Mr. Combs' apology a few years later, did you have any other conflicts with Mr. Combs in that interim time period?
No. After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
You may.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.